All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Another 100-degree day in Las Vegas. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I live in the desert, and it is quite hot. I picked the wrong day to wear jeans. Let me just say that. I appreciate everybody for being here. The YouTube Super Chat, of course. My YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. You could be watching, listening on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. Of course, the FMAM dial KSHP, my personal website, which is, did I say website? Is that what I just said? I'm starting to talk like the United States. I'm starting to talk like Donald Trump now. That wouldn't be good for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't be good for anybody. Pushingthelimits.live is the website. You know, I'm starting off the day today in a pretty darn good mood. My neighbor, Andrew, happens to be an extremely good cook, and he made me some incredible French toast. But unfortunately, I stole his friend Juvie's Coca-Cola in the refrigerator, but I'm on a sugar high today, right? I started with French toast and Coca-Cola, and I can tell you from anybody that knows me, that's a very healthy meal for me. I'm usually eating fast food. I think yesterday, I think my day yesterday went Jack in the Box, McDonald's, and KFC. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's vitamin A, vitamin C, like all the vitamins in all those, right? It's really healthy stuff. I'm starting to eat like Donald Trump. Hopefully I never get a physique like Donald Trump. So anyway, there's a lot to talk about today, including, of course, the off the rails crazy press conference involving Pete Hegseth. And I figured, what better person to talk about this than somebody that I have so much respect for. I was actually listening to his podcast this morning. It's great. Democracy-ish podcast, the Left Hook Substack. We love Wajahat Ali, who's joining us right now on the program. Wajahat, it is good to see you as always, my friend. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Brian, I need you to live, sir. I just heard this absolutely horrific menu that you just ate, where you mentioned the three, not just one, but three fast food chains that are designed to make you die at an early age. And so, you know, we need people to fight fascism, not by, you know, literally supersizing their death. So that's just my intervention. This is me intervening on behalf of the internets.
I'm listening to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you know, giving me health advice. So hopefully that'll help, Wajahat. What did you make of the press conference earlier today where it appeared as though Pete Hegseth, his only objective was an audience of one in Donald Trump, and all he did was attack the media, and he really didn't answer any questions?
Well, I mean, very astute observation there, the audience of one. And I think that's really important for people to remember. When it comes to all of these reeks, a Game of Thrones reference for those who don't know, that's an individual who was abused and tortured to the point where he had no identity, and he just became a reek, a yes man, a dog for his master. These people, ever since Sean Spicer came out, old school reference, right? 2017, the first presser. Brian, you and I keep receipts. What did Sean Spicer's, what was the first presser about? Can you tell folks?
First presser, he lied, and he talked about the incredible attendance, the largest attendance of any inauguration in the history, when we know that was factually inaccurate, a flat-out lie.
And he gaslit the world. We have eyes, right? In 1984, it said the final command of the party was reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. And I remember I was on CNN with this panel of like 12 people, and I was the only one who said, folks, what we're witnessing right now is not normal. We've never seen anything like this. And they're like, no, he'll moderate and he'll be okay, right? He'll grow up. He's this grown-ass man who's in his late 60s at the time, and he'll become presidential, right? How we keep infantilizing Donald Trump. And I said, no, the audience is one, Donald Trump. And Sean Spicer went there and humiliated himself to promote the MAGA lie, the lie that Donald Trump wanted. And fast forward now in 2025, 80% of Republican voters, Brian, believe the big lie that Donald Trump won the election in 2020 that he lost. So here's Pete Hegseth, right? A complete disaster, a man who's so bad at his job that military.com, which is doing great reporting, by the way, revealed that he has lost the confidence of our armed service members, right? They don't trust him, even though he cosplays like an alpha man and releases videos of him jogging with the units and Navy SEALs. They don't respect this guy. They know he's a friggin' fraud, a lily white, makeup wearing, Fox News host, right? Secondly, they said that he's so incompetent that even within the MAGA universe, folks, he cannot find advisors. Why? Because he threw his advisors under the bus. Some of the great controversies that have come out that have been buried is that Pete Hegseth allegedly illegally wiretapped his own staff as pretext to get them fired, right? In addition to that, Peter, several Signalgate controversies, not just one, as this guy is using an unsecure line which the Pentagon has said, by the way, do not use Signal. It's an unsecure app that can be hijacked and, interfered with by our, enemies like Russia. So he has a dirty line in his office and has used the Signal app.
I want to ask you about that, Washahat.
Publicly share war plans.
Right. And I want to ask you about that because Caroline Leavitt and the Trump administration want to go after this person who put out this information, this intelligence about the attack, the Iran attack, and they want to get down to business and find the person who did this, put him in jail, you name it. What about Pete Hegseth? What about the Signal chat that you just mentioned about? Shouldn't it start with the top? Now, listen, I'm all in favor of that. If somebody releases, intelligence information that's highly classified, I want them held to the highest extent of the law. But shouldn't it start with the top and Pete Hegseth?
It's all projection. Cruelty for you, civility for me, safe spaces for me, no safe spaces for thee, right? So if I'm them, I'm like, maybe I should get rid of the guy who, along with all the other national security heads, was on an unsecure app sharing literal copy-paste war plans. That's what Hegseth did. He copy-pasted the war plans. And who was on that Signal thread, folks? I want to bring the receipts because if this was Democrats, this would be nonstop news for 4 years, right? The editor of The Atlantic was accidentally invited, right? And then the editor of The Atlantic is like, folks, I'm going to just announce that I'm here. I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Peace out, right? And if, God forbid, someone else, our enemies got access to that information, you know what they would do? Like what happened with Iran. If you're telegraphing that you're going to attack Iran, you know what Iran did? I'm going to just move my enriched uranium, right? If you're telling me that you're going to attack me, I'm going to, and allegedly they did. And so what, God forbid, can you imagine if our enemies had gone those coordinates and that war plan? Our troops would be in threat. So Pete Hegseth should have been fired immediately. So they don't go after those leakers. What they're going after instead is the individual who apparently leaked this information, right? That we could clearly see from our own eyes that they did not destroy the reactor. And what I think, this is the exquisite news that no one's talking about. Who's leaking? The Trump administration. I think Susan Wiles, I'm just putting it out there, and others are leaking all this shit about Pete Hegseth because how else would we know? How else would we know, Brian? So it's MAGA turning on MAGA, which I agree.
What an interesting moment today, Wajahat. And by the way, I agree with what you just said. You have a distinguished and well-respected on both sides of the aisle Fox News reporter. I don't say that very often. There's not many Fox News.
She's respected, right?
Yeah, she's very, very good, and she's very professional. And you had a moment where she asked Pete Hegseth about what you were just talking about. There's video of this. There were trucks that they were sent out to that facility days before the bombing. She asked a very logical question to Pete Hegseth. Not only does he not answer the question, but he attacks her personally. What did you make of that moment?
That was so disgusting because it shows you a man of no character. Because in addition to attacking her, people forget that she was Jen Griffin. She was his colleague. Right? They knew each other. And she said, you know what? I don't care. I'm even going to go after you publicly, Jen Griffin, and question your integrity, your ethics, and your work. And she, good for her, replied back and stood up for herself a little bit. But this was a man bombastically, pathetically defending not just himself, but defending the incompetence of the Trump administration and trying to bully everyone else to get in line. And last night they went after CNN reporter Natasha Bertrand. Natasha Bertrand's reporting is consistent with what everyone else has said, right? That they did not destroy all the facilities. We've seen the photos, right? That Iran also not only did not destroy the facilities, they just set back Iran's programs by a couple of months. And not only did they set back their program by a couple of months, Brian, what no one's asking is, you just blew up what was nuclear disarmament, right? If you had just stuck to the treaty that you blew up the treaty, the U.S.-Iran deal that Obama successfully negotiated, you blew it up. And then that's what caused acceleration. And now, as a result of you unilaterally joining Israel's war, if I'm a Middle Eastern country, forget a Middle Eastern country, Brian, if I'm any country, you know what I'm thinking right now? You know what I got to do? I got to get a nuclear weapon. Because whoever has a nuclear weapon, like, Israel or North Korea, you know what Donald Trump does to those countries? Exchanges love letters with those countries. So why should I trust the United States of America? Iran, terrible leadership. Iran complied with diplomacy. It says, okay, we're coming to good faith. They were working with the Obama administration. And U.S., specifically Trump, blew it up. And then connecting the dots to Signalgate, if you're an ally, Why would you trust the United States after you saw what the United States did to Iran? And also the fact that all these mother effers aren't signal gig. Would you trust them with intelligence? You tell me, Brian.
Of course not. And correct me if I'm wrong. If we go back in time, because the Trump administration, they want to blame Joe Biden and Barack Obama for everything. Obama actually stopped nuclear Iran, but not with bombs, but with diplomacy. And you never hear anybody on the right talk about that. Obama wasn't dropping bombs. He was able to get it done without doing that.
Well, he dropped bombs on Libya. And so there is a war boner that both Democrats and Republicans have had, especially when it came to the Middle East. But specifically with Iran, you're absolutely right. Diplomacy worked. So if you want to make Iran more safe, if you want to make it more responsible, if you want nuclear disarmament, you do what Obama did. But first administration, Trump comes in, gets dog-walked by Netanyahu yet again, and hates the fact that Obama did this. What does he do? Blows it up. And as he was about to blow it up, even his Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, who was initially a hawk, like so many people were, he said, I try to keep the receipts, I was originally against the U.S.-Iran deal because Iran, is a reckless agent, and we don't want to support that government. But you know what? We should keep it. This is actually working. And as a result of blowing it up, and now as a result of engaging in this unilateral illegal strike on Iran, joining Israel, what you have done is ramped up the race towards nuclear armament. Because if I'm Iran, right, and I'm speaking and I'm thinking about my survival, I realize I can't trust America. And I realize if I get a nuclear weapon, they can't do this shit to me, right? So if anything, like everything Trump touches, he made it worse. He made it worse. And this is where, Brian, not just Democrats, but even there's an America First portion of MAGA, right? Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie. And I even said this on Piers Morgan. I said, if Trump, who's a piece of shit, who I hate, if Trump could be the first president in my lifetime who actually tells Israel, F you. You better stop occupying, stop the genocide, stop the settlements, stop unilaterally striking Iran with, you can't do it with our weapons and our money anymore. You know what would have happened? Israel would stop because it needs our support. And I would have said, well done, Trump. You did something that every other president should have done, but he got dog-walked by Netanyahu. And it was because of his ego, Brian. The reporting says it was because of vibes, not intelligence. He threw Tulsi Gabbard under the bus. And if he's throwing Tulsi Gabbard under the bus and saying, I don't trust your intelligence, that means he's not trusting U.S. intelligence. So the question I have for you, Brian, if Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, ain't trusting U.S. intelligence, whose intelligence is he relying upon?
Well, I think he made it very clear. Israel's intelligence and even Iran. Of course, Iran is going to say that their nuclear capabilities were blown to smithereens because they don't want to be attacked anymore. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump is going to listen to Iran. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And last I checked, Israel's intelligence helped George W. Bush lead into an ill-advised war where we were told weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And we're not listening to our own intelligence because it only makes Donald Trump look bad.
That literally what you said. In my entire lifetime, I've had Benjamin Netanyahu come up every decade and say Iran has a nuclear weapon. And literally 90 days ago, Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, said, no, Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. All the intelligence agencies said, nope, it does not. It's not close to having a nuclear weapon. But Netanyahu, who's been saying this for 3 decades, and you and I are old enough, Brian, we remember 9/11, and remember look, with Bush, they had to lie. They had to engineer a lie to go to war to Iraq, right? Trump didn't even lie, just on a whim he did it, right? And that theater that they did, right, with Colin Powell humiliating himself with that vial of showing the vial of anthrax, and right, Benjamin Netanyahu came all the way from Israel and supported that war course and said, you have to join in attacking Iran. And thankfully, Bush said, no, we'll just do a disastrous war against Iraq and Afghanistan. And instead, he's been on it for 3 decades. Even last year, Netanyahu came to U.S. Congress. And what did he say? U.S., I need your help to bomb Iran. And Biden said, nah. Biden didn't meet him, if you recall, right? And Kamala Harris gave a very kind of awkward stance, no bear hug. So this is why elections matter, right? I think Biden was disastrous when it came to Gaza. I think he enabled and emboldened Netanyahu, who felt like he could do this without any repercussions. But it was Democrats, and specifically Obama, who had the diplomacy, and the diplomacy worked. And it actually shows Democrats. I want Democrats to come out and say this. The failure of Democrats. Why aren't they reminding people that it was Democrats who had diplomacy, right? That Donald Trump lied. He went against his own promise. He was supposed to be America first. It was supposed to be about peace and security. He said that Biden would lead us into war with Iran. No, it's Trump's war. But this is where the Democratic Party is. Maybe they should hire you and me, man.
I wish they would. JD Vance the other day saying that we're not at war. There are actually people in Donald Trump's administration saying we're not at war, Wajahat. And I say to them, if another country did this to us, is that what we would say? Oh, no, we're not at war. Everything's just fine. Of course we're at war. Of course.
It was the dumbest thing. JD Vance said, we're not at war with Iran. We're just at war with its nuclear facilities. That's like saying we're not at war with Afghanistan. We're just at war with its mountain and caves. We're not into, and he said we're not into regime change. And so did Pete Hegseth. And Donald Trump, a few hours later, throws them under the bus with an insane Truth Social post saying, "MIGA, make Iran great again." Yes, we're perhaps into regime change. This is what happens when you have buffoons and corrupt criminals and idiots running. They do it based off vibes. And we still don't know what Putin's saying behind the scenes, right? Because Putin is allies with Iran. So Putin, as we know, for some strange reason, Donald Trump always bends the knee to Putin. I wonder why. It's the world's dumbest people. And everyone knows, well, you should know by now because it's been 10 years, Donald Trump, whoever whispers in his ear last, that's the person who's most influential. And the New York Times reporting said that he was watching Fox, as he does, instead of literally reading his security briefings, because he doesn't like to read them. And Tulsi Gabbard, again, there was a leak that came out about 3 weeks ago that since this mother effer has not read any security briefings aside from 14, right, that she's trying to condense and edit the security briefings into Fox News style hits, folks, just to get this mother effer to pay attention, right? But he can't even do that. So he's watching Fox and he says, oh, it's playing well on Fox because Fox brought on all the neocons and hawks and warmongers. That's why he wanted to take credit for it. And internally, probably was Hegseth and Rubio and others, they were like, we wish Tucker Carlson was still on Fox so he could get a different view. This is the man that a majority of Americans decide to vote for as president.
Absolutely absurd. And Wajahat, what's really unfortunate about all this is that this is, correct me if I'm wrong, day 77. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. This is now day 77. How many great deals have been made? We're still talking about, the fact that inflation is not down, gas prices are not down, unemployment rate has gone up. And oh yeah, by the way, the war in Ukraine is still going strong. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I mean, America's just crushing it, right? Also, measles are skyrocketing. Tourism is going down. People see us as a shithole country. Allies are turning away from us. Like you said, consumer confidence in America has gone down. Moody's, for the first time ever, has downgraded our credit rating. But other than that, it's going awesome.
Unbelievable. And now we're just learning breaking news that I guess Garcia, this man who was sent to an El Salvador prison, is now going to be deported to another country other than El Salvador after the release from Tennessee. Yeah, that just broke just now. And I do find that very, very interesting. That's according to the Associated Press, because all this time we've heard from Stephen Miller and the Trump administration, he needs to be sent to his home country, which is El Salvador. And now it turns out he's going to be sent somewhere else. So it contradicts everything that they've said.
And it just shows you the cruelty, because they cannot concede that they made a mistake after already conceding that they made a mistake. If I was Donald Trump, this is what I would do. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, ICE effed up, not me, and I'm the one who saved you. That's because that's what they do, right? They burn the house down and they come with the buckets of water and say, see, I'm the fireman. I'm the one that saved you. Then I'd invite him to the White House. I'd have a beer with him. He doesn't drink beer, so I'll give Kilmar a beer. Donald Trump would drink a Diet Coke, and then they would have tacos. But he can't have a taco anymore because taco now means Trump always chickens out. So I'd have a burger. I'd have a burger with Kilmar. Put my arm around him. Take a photo op, and it would help. It would help his poll numbers. But the problem is, folks, they're so cruel. They're so vicious. They're so racist.
Yep.
And Stephen Miller is the one running the show. That even though ICE admitted that they sent him as a mistake, even though the judge has demanded he gets sent back, they're trumping up fake allegations against this man. I hope he sues them, but most importantly, I hope he comes home. This is a man from Maryland, committed zero crimes, legally here, folks, has a wife, has kids. He was a brown man. They picked up 238 brown men and shipped them to their death, a foreign gulag. And for that reason alone, Donald Trump should be impeached, folks.
I do also find it interesting that a lot of MAGA Republicans say he's a woman abuser. By the way, never been convicted of a crime in this country. Sure. But yet, when it comes to Donald Trump, who's a 34-count convicted felon, oh, no, that was a kangaroo court. I do find that very interesting, Wajahat.
It's all projection all the time. And a man who literally was held liable for rape sexual assault and defamation against E. Jean
Yep.
Carroll, fraud, and a man who incited a violent insurrection and then pardoned the violent insurrectionists, including those people who beat up cops and some people who had violent criminal offenses and a violent past.
Yep.
It's all projection. It's all fascism. And what we need now, we need fighters, Brian. We need fighters, right? If you're unwilling to meet this moment, if you're unwilling to fight, you are useless to me, right? And I'm talking about the Democrats. You are useless to me. Just retire, resign, you trade stocks, you're all millionaires, get the F out of the way. And if they're not going to get the F out of the way, primary them. There needs to be a culling of the Democratic Party, because this is what we're dealing with as they're terrorizing, literally terrorizing our communities.
Couldn't agree with you more. Wajahat, you're one of the best in the business. The Left Hook Substack is phenomenal. I was watching your podcast earlier today, Democracy-ish podcast. It was absolutely great. And you had a great interview on there too. Appreciate what you do. How do people follow you, and how do people watch your stuff? Give out that information for the listeners.
Yeah, Daniel and I had Representative Ro Khanna on, and thank you for watching. I thought I don't know if we grilled them. We did what most journalists should have done. We asked about the inconsistencies of his record, the inconsistencies of the Democratic Party, and we demanded he do better. So that's out already on Democracy-ish on Daniel Moody's YouTube. It's going to be out on my Left Hook Substack. It's the lefthook.substack.com. And I just interviewed Peter Beinart about why Mamdani's win shatters so many of these BS narratives about Muslims and Jews hating each other and about everyone must support Israel. Just shatters all these myths that you can't be woke and you can't be a person of color and you can't lean into supporting undocumented immigrants and Palestinians. Just nonsense. And you're seeing, Brian, in real time, as of now, the Democratic establishment is unleashing all of its firepower, not against Trump, against Mamdani.
Yep. No doubt about that. Wajahat, I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. And again, we got to get on Piers Morgan together one of these days. We got to work.
We were supposed to be on last week, and then they bumped me and then brought you. That's what happens. And we'll do it when I come back. Sorry that there's kids around everywhere, folks.
No, that's okay. That's okay. There are hopefully no Elon Musk's children in that area.
Only my own. My own.
All right, fair enough. Wajahat, you're the best, my friend. I love you. Thank you so much. Thanks. And we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Thank you. Take care. That's Wajahat Ali, everybody. One of the best in the business, Democracy-ish podcast, which I was watching intently this morning. He really is great. And the Left Hook Substack, Wajahat's one of the best. I really do appreciate him. And I'm very lucky that in my Rolodex, I have people like that, the Ron Filipowskis of the world, Wajahat Alis of the world, the Jojo Carducci's of the world, Don Lemon, who did the show last week. These are wonderful people, really good people who are in it for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. I think that's also very important. There are a lot of people in right-wing media, and there's a lot of people that are on social media that know that they're spreading lies and hate and bigotry like the Candace Owens of the world and the Ben Shapiro's of the world, but they only do it for one reason, money. And I can tell you that the people that I have on this show, sure, they need to make a living, but their number one priority is not making money, like the Wajahat Alis of the world. Their number one priority is speaking truth to power, and I have so much respect for them, and I certainly appreciate them taking the time to join us. So we do want to play some audio for you, but before we do that, we are going to take a quick break. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give the rundown of the news of the last 24 hours, of course, but we are also going to play some audio for you from Pete Hegseth earlier this morning. It was raging against the media. It was nuts. So we'll play that for you coming up next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. A good friend of mine, very popular left-leaning podcaster, Ryan Shedd, will be joining us on the show tomorrow. His stuff is great on social media, so certainly look forward to joining him on the air tomorrow. That is going to be a lot of fun. Also, we're in the YouTube Super Chat, so your questions and comments will be read live, and of course, pushingthelimits.live. We appreciate you being a part of the program. So, as I mentioned earlier, Pete Hegseth held a press conference earlier today, and the summary of the press conference, to me anyway, was pretty simple. It was basically Trump is the greatest military strategist and political leader in the history of the planet. It was the most brilliant military operation in the world. Iran will never bother anyone ever again throughout the world because of Trump's leadership, and the media is really, really bad. That's really what this entire press conference was about. It was a circus. It was a clown show. And Pete Hegseth started today just attacking the media and saying that the press cheer against Trump so hard and cheer against the country. Have a listen to this.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented him isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, fly a plane for 36 hours?
Absolutely and positively ridiculous. Those are filled with lies. You couldn't find me one member of the media that has been covering this that is rooting against the operation. I, for one, am not one of them. Obviously, I want America to succeed in any situation. Whether I agree or not with the strike, I want it to be successful. You couldn't find one member of the media that is rooting against our military in an honest fashion. So what he is doing is he is projecting, and he's lying. Just like they said, where's all the praise for our brave soldiers and our military flying these planes? There's been nobody that said anything negative about the military or about these pilots who were executing this. That's not the issue here. The issue is, how successful was it? The issue is, does Iran still have nuclear capabilities? Did they get the uranium? And we're learning, based on our own intelligence, that no, that's most likely not the case. We know that there are videos from a couple days ago, we'll get to this, of Iran getting trucks out of that area. What was in those trucks? What were they getting shipped out of there 2 days before? let's be honest, most of this press conference was a raging lunatic that was just yelling at the media. That's really all this was. Pete Hegseth has an obsession with press coverage, just like so many others in the Trump administration and Donald Trump. And again, it showed quite heavily earlier today.
So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful.
Absolutely ridiculous once again. There is not one member of the media, as I repeat, that has gone after the pilots in any negative fashion. In fact, I've only heard positives, and I'm for one of them. I respect our brave men and women in uniform. I'm sure they did exactly what they were told to do, and they executed that. Doesn't mean that it was successful. That's not on the pilots. But again, Pete Hegseth is deflecting. To me, this is a monumental moment in the Trump administration from this standpoint. Pete Hegseth goes after a Fox News reporter, a well-distinguished woman who is respected on both sides of the aisle. I would not say that about a lot of people on Fox News. And she asked what I would consider a very relevant question, which is, and what we've been talking about the last couple days, how are you so confident that we got what we wanted to get in the uranium and what was on that site? How can you be so confident when we know that a couple days earlier, Iran got warnings that this attack was going to happen, and we've seen 8 to 10 trucks leaving that facility? We don't know what were in those trucks, but it's a very logical question and a very relevant question that a good journalist would ask. And listen to the fact that not only Pete Hegseth doesn't answer the question, but he attacks her.
I've seen that suggests that we didn't hit exactly what we wanted to hit in those locations.
That's not the question, though. It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally what the president says. I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate that.
Okay, so 2 important notes there. And again, I'm defending her because I think she's a very good journalist. She's one of the few on Fox News that I would say does a really good job. She reports on the facts. She's a very good reporter and happens to work for Fox News. Keep in mind, this is one of Pete Hegseth's former colleagues. 2 things in that soundbite that I think are extremely relevant. Number 1, he doesn't answer the question. She is talking about those trucks that left the facility a few days before the bombings took place and the attack took place by our own military. Notice how he doesn't want to address it, doesn't even respond to it, doesn't answer the question, just speaks in generalities. This was successful. It was successful. Doesn't talk about our own intelligence and video that we have of them leaving that facility with trucks, 8 to 10 of them. Doesn't respond. Number 2, a playbook from the Trump administration. What do? Well, when they can't answer a question or they can't defend something, when they can't defend the indefensible, what do? They attack the media. That's what this entire press conference was all about. It was about attacking the media and what I would consider someone who is a pretty good journalist. She's a straight-up journalist, and she's one of the few on Fox News that I say do a good job. Now, Pete Hegseth said a lot of things that were absolutely ridiculous, but this might have been tops on the list. He's calling this the most complex and secretive military operation in history, which is absurd. Have a listen to this.
Let me read the bottom line here. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war.
So let's be very, very clear on this. How about Normandy? Do we remember Normandy? Do we remember Hiroshima? Do we remember Hiroshima? Do we remember the Bin Laden raid? Do we remember the Bin Laden raid? But Pete Hegseth is now claiming that this is the most complex and secretive military operation in history. You want to talk about absolute foolishness and ridiculous and buffoonery? That's exactly what Pete Hegseth is doing. And then he starts talking about the CIA sources and which sources are credible and which sources are not credible and what America deserves to know. Another very interesting point in this press conference where a reporter is saying, don't you think the American public deserves to know the truth?
CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates, it also goes on to say, new intelligence from historically reliable and accurate sources and methods. Now, you can imagine. You can imagine the CIA director is going to be very careful about how he articulates things of that sensitivity. Classified, secret, top secret, compartmentalized. He's going to know things that you're not going to know, that the press isn't going to know. And he's reflecting that the sources he's seeing are highly credible. They've given credible intelligence. They or those processes have given credible intelligence in the past. And that's what he's basing it on.
Don't you think we need to see that?
Do you have a top secret clearance, sir?
Eventually,
Okay.
the American public wants
Yes,
to see
sir.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
I wanted to ask briefly.
Yeah.
Just,
No, not you. Checkered shirt.
Oh.
Right there.
So in that exchange, you have another reporter doing their due diligence. And that reporter is saying, doesn't the American people deserve to know the truth? Now, I understand that there is some intelligence that is highly classified that will never be released to the public, and there are specific reasons for that. But the reason why they are withholding intelligence, not just from the general public, but to members of Congress, is because it makes them look bad. And Donald Trump doesn't want this to be out there for everybody to see that this mission was not accomplished. And this all comes at the helm where Donald Trump called for CNN and the New York Times to fire reporters who've done critical coverage of him, but does so in the most passive-aggressive way possible. What type of country are we living in today? There are no checks and balances with this administration. And I want to get your thoughts on this because some of you who listen to this show did vote for Donald Trump. Some of you call into this show. I want to open up the phone lines now. What do you make of Pete Hegseth's press conference earlier today? As I looked at it pretty clearly, and I watched the whole thing twice, this was all about attacking the media. It was about not answering questions. It was about a listener of one, Donald Trump. And, you know, we had Wajahat Ali on to start the show today, and he obviously agreed with me. This was about telling us how terrible the media is and how this was a brilliant military operation. Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the show, the number to call is 702-221-7283. And those are the questions that I'm asking you right now, which are, what did you make of Pete Hegseth's press conference, or lack thereof, earlier today? What do you make of the fact that Donald Trump is now calling for reporters on CNN and New York Times to be fired? And the White House won't say how it's limiting intelligence sharing with Congress, which I think is also extremely important. And I want to be very clear on this. Barack Obama is the guy that actually stopped nuclear Iran without dropping any bombs. So for those of you out there that want to criticize Barack Obama, he did it with diplomacy. Not airstrikes. No war. There was a signature on a deal, and guess what? It worked. Now, if you ask me, that's leadership. If you ask me, real leadership isn't about bombing people and blowing things up and killing innocent people. Real leadership is knowing how to get results with your words. Isn't that what the art of the deal actually is? Getting things done with your words without having to bomb people, without having to go the extra mile and a last resort, which is getting the United States in another ill-advised war. That's what Barack Obama was able to do, but you will never hear that from MAGA Republicans. All right, let's open up the phone lines now. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you do want to be a part of the conversation, that number is 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. And who are we going to first here? Let's go to Ray. Ray is first up on PTL. Hey, Ray, what's going on?
Hey, we missed one, Brian. The doodle raid on Tokyo. Those pilots took off from the aircraft carrier Hornet. They knew they couldn't get back. There was no way they had enough fuel to get back. I'd say they were brave. But to answer your question about Hegseth, he's like the rest of those MAGA Republicans. They talk around the question, never answer it. They're all the same. My neighbors are like that. They're a bunch of scumbags. It's your show. Go ahead.
I appreciate those statements. They are a bunch of scumbags. You know, what's really telling in this whole situation, and I've talked about this all week, it's very simple to me. Our own members of our military have been put in harm's way. Our intelligence is telling us, and when I say ours, I mean the U.S. intelligence is telling us that this was not as successful as the Trump administration would lead you to believe. They are lying about the success or lack of success, which what took place in Iran. Yes, they are under a ceasefire right now, but the United States of America is under a 90-day terror watch. God forbid, I hope nothing happens. And then we have Pete Hegseth today. Really, the entire press conference was about attacking members of the media and attacking the media. That's what this was all about today. That's it. It wasn't about the details. It wasn't about the truth. It was about, once again, lashing out at members of the media that are telling the truth and lashing out at CNN with an accurate report. That's what this was about. It wasn't about the truth. And just like back when we were told under the George W. Bush days of the weapons of mass destruction, which we never found, which were never there, we were lied then, we're being lied to now. Again, that number to call, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good.
First of all, the clown in the YouTube chat, Cash Show Cab, we all know you're a memer, and you could call up Brian like you said you were going to and roast whoever you want, but you're just a MAGA fool like all the other MAGA clowns because you have that Brian and Trump fellatio syndrome. Secondly, about Hegseth, I think that's his name, right? Pete Hegseth.
We can call him that today. That's fine.
Yeah, he's blaming everybody but his own administration. Well, not his, the administration he's part of. And when things go bad and missions have failed, you have to blame someone. So who does he blame? He blames the people he can talk down to, such as reporters and news channels that are only reporting the truth. And he doesn't want to take responsibility. And it's not the pilot's era. It was the leadership's era. It's not thinking things out. In fact, didn't Trump state that I'm going to make a decision in 2 weeks? How do you give advance warning to an enemy? Well, a so-called enemy that didn't do anything to us.
I think that's a really good point. And I look at the way that he's handled the war, Mark, in Ukraine, very similarly blaming the wrong people, right? Blaming, right. Zelensky and calling him a dictator and saying that Ukraine started it. For whatever reason, coddling to Vladimir Putin, which he continues to do on a daily basis. The war's going to be over in 24 hours. Then he says he's being sarcastic. Very similar to when he talked about injecting you with...
He telegraphs his... Trump telegraphed his warning.
He did.
He told them what we're going to do.
He said, "Get out of Tehran." He said that a week ago.
What a moron!
Yeah, only a complete moron would do that. He couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Exactly,
Hey, listen. There are women in my dating life that tell me I can't keep my mouth shut, but at the same time, we're not talking about nuclear bombs. At least not in the sense of war. Anyway, I appreciate the call, Mark. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Again, that's 702-2217. I know we have some people on hold. What are we talking about? Obviously, we're talking about the war in Iran. We're talking about the press conference yesterday with Donald Trump, which was a disaster. We're talking about the projection of Pete Hegseth today, attacking members of the media. It was just a joke. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Oscar. Oscar is next up on PTL. Hey, Oscar, what's going on?
Yes, sir. I was at the Fort Meade today trying to get a work pass at the military base in the Washington, D.C. area, and I think Pete Hegseth, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a clown, and he needs to be replaced. You know what I mean? He has no knowledge of the job that he's doing.
Think about it.
Donald Trump is just...
Oscar, think about this, and I agree with you, Oscar. Think about this for a moment. We had that signal chat, whatever you want to call it, situation that took place. And no heads rolled. Pete Hegseth should have been fired on the spot. Now we're talking about factual information from intelligence that was leaked. By the way, I don't condone that. If somebody leaked it, even though it's truthful, if somebody leaked it, they should be held to the highest extent of the law. I have no problem with that. But you have Caroline Levitt and the Trump administration saying, we're going to find who's responsible for this because it makes Donald Trump look bad. But yet Pete Hegseth, second in command, could go on a signal chat and text his wife and his friends about highly classified information, and that's totally okay. Notice how they don't want to talk about that anymore, right, Oscar?
Yes, well, that's one of the reasons why they were trying to convene Hillary Clinton, and they went really hard on it, and that's one of the reasons why she lost the first election. To be honest with you, you know what I'm saying?
I think there's a lot of reasons.
That's a very hypocrite.
Yeah.
They are very hypocrite. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oscar, I'm with you. I agree. I think there's a lot of reasons why Hillary Clinton lost. I think there's a lot of reasons why Kamala Harris lost. But I do agree with you with that sentiment of what you were saying. I do agree with you. I want you guys to think about this again. Pete Hegseth was at the forefront of this signal chat situation, scandal, whatever you want to call it. Nothing. No accountability. But now they want to roll heads for whoever released this to CNN, this highly classified information, which, by the way, goes to show you that we didn't do much damage at all. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Courtney. Courtney is next up on PTL. Hey, Courtney, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
It's your old friend Courtney from Brooklyn. I just wanted to say two things real quick. There's three reasons that Hillary and Kamala lost. First, you had racism for Kamala. Then you had sexism for both of them. Mm-hmm. And then you had some rigging going on. I don't believe that Trump won all 7 swing states. That didn't happen. But what I really would say is it's so dangerous. Every day this idiot, moron, Donnie Diapers is in the White House is a national security risk. We can't have some crazy person lying to us like this. What's he going to do when Iran develops a bomb?
I think that's a really good point.
And they've been lying to us this whole time.
I think that's a really good point that you're bringing up. We've been told for 30 years that Iran has these types of nuclear capabilities and weaponry. Who have we been told that by? We've been told that by the Israeli government and Benjamin Netanyahu. By the way, I don't believe anything Benjamin Netanyahu says any more than I believe anything that Donald Trump says. I want to be very clear on that. We were told there were weapons of mass destruction, why we went to war in Iraq, according to George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. I feel like this is happening all over again, maybe not to that extent. But I feel like when Donald Trump decides not to listen to our own intelligence and throw Tulsi Gabbard under the bus, which is exactly what he has done, and he's listening to Benjamin Netanyahu, who, by the way, broke a ceasefire 2 hours into it. We saw how angry Donald Trump was about that. It really is insane. It's insane.
Exactly, because we are I don't even listen to our news because I feel like they are fake news. They normalized his crazy for 10 years. And now we've got them up there saying all kinds of shit. They got that uranium out. Now their whole program's just going to go underground. We're not going to know what they're doing. He pulled us out of the nuclear treaty, and now they've pulled out. So who's going to be able to watch them? At this point, they could create a bomb, and there'd be nothing we would know about it. And he would be lying about it because he's claiming we totally obliterated their resources.
Right, which hurts our own safety as Americans, and I completely agree with you. I think the writing is on the wall. I think for the most part, we know what happened here. Here's what happened. Iran knew that this attack was going to happen up to 48 hours before. We know that there were at least 8 to 10 trucks that were leaving that facility. What was in that truck? What were in those trucks? I think all of us could probably say the stuff that we wanted to destroy. Our own intelligence tells us maybe set them back 1 to 2 months, which is nothing. Now we are in a war with Iran and Israel. Obviously, Israel are allies. We also know that Donald Trump has taken the intelligence of Israel and the Israeli government and the Iranian government over our own. We also know that. We know that the Trump administration is hiding what took place. How do we know that? A minute before the intelligence briefing with members of Congress, they canceled it. And now we are learning that the White House won't even be saying how it's limiting intelligence sharing with Congress. That's what we know. It is an absolute disaster. It's chaos. The war in Ukraine is still going strong. He said the war would be over in 24 hours. All this still going on. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Shelley. Shelley is next up on PTL. Hey, Shelley, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. This is Iraq all over again. You remember that, I don't know where it was put out, but that Iraq wanted to kill Poppy Bush. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then George W. Bush comes in. He gets his chance to go after Iraq. Now, Trump has heard about Iran wanting to assassinate him.
Yep.
So now he goes after Iran. So this is this has come full circle. But Netanyahu and Russia and China, what if they all gang up on us? Has anybody thought about that?
I don't believe so, but I'll tell you this. We know that Russia and Iran, I believe, could be working together. And I believe they are both run by evil dictators. I think we both could agree on that. And for whatever reason, at times, Donald Trump coddles evil dictators. And we know he's done this with Vladimir Putin. Why is this so dangerous? Because I believe Putin could be working with the Iranian government.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
I agree,
that is the danger. That is the danger of so many dangers of what is going on right now with this war.
Bye, dear.
Yep. Shelley, I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. What will Taco Trump do next? He says the war's over. Over in 2 weeks. By the way, J.D. Vance said it wasn't even a war, and now he's calling it a war. The war's over in 13 days. By the way, there's no evidence to prove that the war is over. But all those MAGA morons out there, and that's what you are, that were anti-war, and you believe Donald Trump when he said he was going to be a peace president and he wouldn't start any new wars. Where are you now? Now you support this? You support the fact that they're not giving the information to the American people. They're not even giving our own intelligence out to members of Congress in these intel meetings. They're not even giving out the pertinent information that Americans deserve to know. It's a joke. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Brittany. Brittany is next up on PTL. Hey, Brittany, what's up?
Hi, I just want to make a funny comment that Trump's cabinet is just a complete and utter waste of a junk drawer, and that people to really recognize when people from his cabinet and administration say, we think or we believe, because psychologically, that's just telling me that they have no idea what they're really saying. They don't have any confidence.
Well, think about this for a moment. I don't disagree with you. Think about the people that are in Trump's administration. Think about the guy that's in charge here of our military. Think about a guy who, by his own mother's standards, called him a woman abuser, who was a weekend anchor at Fox News, right? And this is the guy that Donald Trump puts in charge. I mean, he wanted Matt Gaetz to be the attorney general, so that just proves to you everything. These are incompetent people. These are people that are unqualified for the job. These are also bad people. They are also dangerous people. Why are they dangerous? Because they're incompetent, and they will do and say anything that Donald Trump tells them. So they're dangerous, they're incompetent, and it puts our national security at risk, quite frankly.
What do you think of Trump's mental health right now? I mean, if they were shitting on Joe Biden, sorry for my language, but I mean, in comparison, he's not any better. He's in his late 70s, 80. You know, I mean, the hypocrisy.
It is hypocrisy, and now that I have you on the line, I will share some breaking news. Apparently, this is Trump's new Iran offer. If I'm reading it correctly, $30 billion of aid for a civilian nuclear program, no uranium enrichment allowed, Gulf Arab allies to cover the coast, Iran's frozen $6 billion to be released. So I do find this very interesting. The source is CNN. Remember all the people out there that were complaining about the billions of dollars that Barack Obama gave, and then Joe Biden, put a freeze on it. And now apparently in this new deal, the frozen $6 billion will be released to the Iranian government, and we're supposed to just trust them. This is a really bad deal. New nuclear site will be replaced as well without enrichment capabilities. Now, apparently Iran hasn't agreed to this deal, but can you think about that for a moment? Is that the art of the deal? The $6 billion is going to be released, and all I heard from MAGA Republicans for years is, look at what look at what Barack Obama did. He gave money to this terrorist government, and now it appears as though, and Joe Biden, by the way, is the guy that froze those assets, and now all of a sudden Donald Trump is going to unfreeze those assets. I bet MAGA Republicans will be totally okay with that.
They'll be calling him daddy for the rest of the day like they have been, unfortunately, and it's gross.
Absolutely disgusting. I appreciate your call, my dear. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I can't believe I just read that. According to CNN, a new deal would be $30 billion in aid, so much for Doge, for a civilian nuclear program to Iran. No enrichment allowed. How do we know? And Iran's frozen $6 billion that Joe Biden froze would be released. And we've heard from MAGA Republicans for years about how Barack Obama funded a bunch of terrorists, and now Donald Trump is going to release the $6 billion. I find that very interesting. And then they're allowed a new nuclear site to replace the bombed site, but just no enrichment capabilities. How do we know? What a horrible deal this would be. It'd probably be a really good deal for Iran, a really bad deal for the world and the United States of America. So we definitely want to get your thoughts on that as well. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Jeremy. Jeremy is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?
Good.
So, I mean, Pete Hegseth really is, like, the biggest scum that we have out there. Because, like, I agree with you that the main purpose of this press conference this morning was to attack the media. But the other one was to do what is probably the most dangerous thing that all of these Trump cabinet people do, which is justify this fake reality that Trump creates for himself, right? It was total obliteration, and anything you say is wrong. It's the same thing when he was like, there's been a ceasefire because I've declared it, and then Israel attacks again. Like, the question is, that the media need to ask is, which I applaud them for doing their due diligence of, asking questions of, if it wasn't total obliteration, what do we do now? And you can't blame it on the Democrats and Joe Biden.
No. And we don't blame it on the pilots either, or our brave men and women in uniform. We blame it on Donald Trump. We blame it on the fact that Iran,
did their job.
Think about that. Iran knew that these attacks were coming up to 48 hours before. We know that there were trucks leaving that facility. We know that for a fact. But why won't the Trump administration talk about that? Why won't they explain or even mention it? Won't answer any questions about it. That was because of Donald Trump giving the warnings. We should all, leave Tehran. They knew the attack was coming. They got the warnings for it. And we're led to believe that all the uranium was kept there. Oops, sorry. We sat on our asses for 2 days. No, that's not what happened. There's no reasonable person that thinks that this attack on Iran was successful.
No, and the pilots did their jobs, which is great. But,
Right.
it's also what Pete Hegseth said today. Was when he said, why doesn't anyone talk about how special America is? Pete Hegseth, MAGA, Trump, all these people think America is so star-spangled awesome that we are incapable of making mistakes, causing errors, not succeeding 100%. And that's dangerous because we have to live in a world where we understand that mistakes could happen or success is not guaranteed.
Yeah, and
but they want to live in this alternate Trump reality.
Can you imagine if Donald Trump unfreezes this $6 billion and we're sending cash to Iran after years we had to hear about, Barack Hussein Obama is funding terrorists. And now when it comes down to it, it appears as though Donald Trump will be doing that and more.
Well, the Iran deal wasn't just the first thoughts that came across Barack Obama's mind. It was carefully thought out, negotiated, both sides, and they came to an agreement. Trump's basically saying, here's this agreement. It's really good for you, but it's brilliant because I thought of it. So the end. And all of the Republicans and the MAGAs and Charlie Kirk and all those idiots are going to clap like seals and get down on their knees and say it's the greatest thing that's happened since the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
You are so right. I appreciate your call, my friend. You are so right. You know how all these MAGA Republicans complain about drag queens? If Donald Trump decided to dress in drag, and he'd be ready to go because the makeup would already be on, they would start praising drag queens. If Donald Trump came out of the closet and said that he was a homosexual, then all of a sudden they would all be for gay marriage. If Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said he wanted to get rid of AR-15s, all the MAGA Republicans would all of a sudden, they would be okay with it. If Donald Trump started to attack the alt-right evangelicals, then most MAGA supporters would start attacking the same supporters. They are cultists. That's why we call this a cult. It's your dear orange turd, adjudicated rapist, 34-count felon, orange orangutan, Donald Trump, and they just lead and they follow because they are in a clan cult. I've said it before and I say it again. This is a clan cult. And if you are still a part of it, then you are ill-informed, probably ignorant, maybe racist, bigoted, and, this is who some of these people in America are. I'm just tired of being nice. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Oh, man. Sorry, I just joined. Did you read that quote on air from Representative Andy Ogles today? Did you read that?
Tell me what he said.
Let me tell you what he said. Zoran Little Muhammad Mamdani is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I'm calling him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings.
Oh, my God. So basically, he's saying somebody should be deported because he doesn't like some of their policies that's running for office. I mean, that is just so racist and bigoted in nature. See, Andy Ogles is a complete fool. But, if we made a statement, Paul, if we made a statement like that at our job with somebody that we worked with, we would lose our job. He's saying the guy should be deported?
Yeah. And then let me read you one more from Trump Jr. He commented on somebody says, I'm old enough to remember when New Yorkers endured 9/11 instead of voting for it. And Trump Jr. said, New York has fallen. This is where we are, Brian. They've taken off their hats. And my wife said it. She goes, these people are just openly racist, anti-Semitic. They're pieces of shit. They don't want brown people. They don't want anybody that's not white that looks like you and I. And it's absolutely disgusting.
All right, so listen, this guy that's running for office in New York City, I don't know a lot about him. I would say that some of his positions are certainly further to the left than your average Democrat. I don't necessarily think that he is an anti-Semite. I've never heard him make a statement like death to Israel or death to Jews. I've never heard him make a statement like what Donald Trump said, whereas if you're Jewish and you don't vote for me, you need to get your head examined. That would be anti-Semitic. But this is a guy who has some views that are far to the left. Listen, if he wins, congratulations. I think we need more people that are a little bit more in the center. But I also think he has a lot of great ideas, whether it be raising minimum wage, helping immigrants in this country. I think he's certainly a man of compassion. I think he has some good ideas. I agree with him on far more than I disagree with him on. I kind of think of him in a sense that I think of Ocasio-Cortez. Intelligent, well-spoken, energizes the base of the party. Don't always agree with AOC on everything, but I do have respect for her. No, I don't think AOC is anti-Semitic. She has issues with Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government, as do I. But she also calls out terrorism. She calls out, Iran. She calls out, obviously, what took place in October in Israel as atrocities, and she's called out terrorism. This guy's done the same. But when MAGA Republicans say, well, this is where the Democrat Party is headed, anti-Semitism and this and that, listen, I might not agree with everything he says, but I don't think the guy's anti-Semitic.
Right. No, and I'll read you one more for Charlie Kirk. He said, 24 years ago, a group of Muslims killed 2,753 people on 9/11. Now a Muslim socialist is on pace to run New York City. What does his skin color have? Do we support white people because they terrorized January 6th?
No, in fact, he calls them patriots. They're patriots and hostages, Paul. Yeah.
Because they're white.
Why is it that so many MAGA Republicans won't just admit it, that that's what Make America Great Again really stands for? It's Make America White Again. That's what it really stands for. Why won't they just admit it? You know, they say, oh, we want brown people in this country. We just want them to do it the right way. Oh, really? Are you making it easier for them to become legal citizens? Or do you support ICE agents outside of courtrooms after their court date when they show up and they try to do it the right way? This is racism. This is bigotry. This is about attacking brown people. And by the way the they're going after this guy in New York City, the way they go after AOC, go back to your S-hole country, the way they go after some of these people and make fun of the fact that somehow she was a bartender and she paid her way through school, so that's a bad thing. This is bigotry and this is racism. They do not want brown people in this country, but if you're South African and you're 100% white, we'll bring you in here with open arms. That's who Tom Homan is. That's who the Trump administration are.
Right, and I find it ironic that these people that are demonizing immigrants that have been here for 30 years, that have never committed a crime, but they're going to vote for a white man who's an adjudicated rapist, a convicted felon, tax fraud, has dinner with white nationalists. Somehow that's okay and you get a pass because he's the right demographic. But I'm sorry, if you're pregnant and you get zip tied because your documentation's not right and get treated like an animal, it's disgusting. It's vile.
It is
gross.
It is absolutely gross, but we have to be prepared for the fact that it is only going to get worse before it gets better. We are now living in a country where ICE agents don't even identify themselves. They're showing up in front of Home Depots in the morning. They're showing up in synagogues and churches with scarves over their face because they're a bunch of cowards. Now listen, I respect law enforcement. I'm very consistent on that. But if you're one of those people that's wearing a scarf over your face and you're not identifying yourself as an ICE agent and you're separating families and, we're talking about mothers from their children, then you are a coward, okay? I respect law enforcement. I really do. But why is it they're making an excuse, Paul, that they're wearing these things over their face to protect themselves? Then why don't police officers wear that over their face? Why don't FBI agents wear that over their face?
Why is it that they moaned and groaned and bitched and whined during COVID when we had a deadly virus that killed millions of people, that it was an infringement upon their rights, freedom, freedom, freedom? But if they want to snatch people off the streets, they can put a mask on and unmarked cars. I don't understand why it's okay now. It's gross. I don't even know how that's legal. I wouldn't let somebody grab me or my wife off the streets if I didn't have if they had a mask on.
Let me tell you something, Paul. It's not. And if you are in your home in most states in this country and somebody breaks into your home, breaks the window or barges down your door, and they don't identify themselves as law enforcement and they have a weapon, you are allowed to use deadly force to defend yourself if you feel like your life is in harm's way. I'm telling you this right now, Paul. I don't want this to happen, but it's going to happen. There is going to be a situation where an ICE agent is not going to identify him or herself, and somebody is going to be using the stand your ground law, and they are going to lose their life. I don't want that to happen, but these ICE agents are breaking the law. It's just like when you're serving a search warrant, you have to identify yourself. Same thing with an ICE agent. You have to identify yourself as law enforcement, and some of these agents we've seen on video are not doing that.
No, and people are buying outfits to pretend to be ICE and going in there and stealing people's cars and zip tying them and stealing their personal belongings because they don't know who's real and who's not.
Right.
This is fascism, Brian. I don't know how else I don't know. I just don't understand how and I used to be a Republican until 16. I don't understand how this is, quote unquote, traditional family values. I want law and order, but I'm also okay voting for an adjudicated rapist and having unmasked men zip tying pregnant women that are having miscarriages in ICE facilities.
Did you see the
What
people
kind
that
of a
were
shithole country are we?
Did you see the video of people, speaking of handcuffed, people that were in wheelchairs that were handcuffed? Did you see that video?
I made a video. What are they? This dude is disabled. What is he going to do? Is he storming the Capitol in a wheelchair? What's he doing, Brian? Is he going to zip tie the senators? The guy can't even drink from a straw.
A line of people that are tremendously, sadly handicapped that are in wheelchairs. Some of them are quadriplegics, and they put them in these zip tie handcuffs. Is this the country that you want to live in? I mean, it's incredible.
You know, can I say one last thing? I don't want to
Yeah.
take up too much. You know what really gets me? These people that are basically just living paycheck to paycheck, that need social services just to stay alive, are doing more against the government than are elected Democratic leaders. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. It pisses me off also.
They're getting arrested for doing the right thing, and Democrats are like, oh, let me give a strongly worded speech on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, go to hell. I don't care about that speech.
Yeah, that's not going to work. I agree with you, Paul. Thank you. You did a great job filling in for me, by the way, Paul. We appreciate you. Immortal Suspects on the YouTube Super Chat. Thank you for your support. Immortal says, Pete Hegseth looks like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead, and that's an insult to Beavis and Butthead. The guy is a total clown. That's my Beavis and Butthead impersonation. I grew up with Beavis and Butthead. Thank you so much, Immortal, for your support. We obviously appreciate you. Shelley as well. We appreciate your support. You're kidding me. Trump is sending a plane full of cash to Iran after bitching about Obama. Yes, Shelley, he is. 702-221-7283. The phone lines are full, as they usually are on this show. Let's go to Susan. Susan's next. What's up, Susan?
Hey, Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, hey, there's something that I keep noticing about all these shows, yours also, and please, present company excluded. I find that most of these callers that are calling in that are on Trump's side are men, and they are so egotistical, they cannot let go of it. Now, there's a proven fact that 75% of all narcissists are men. Anybody can look that up. Stuff is free on the internet. But what gets me about these people is that all of this stuff, even everything that they're saying, is free. It's all on the internet. X has AI. Now, AI is doing a hell of a job correcting some of these people. I've seen some of the stuff coming out of there going like, whoa, this sure proves that Trump's a piece of shit. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, my point is that education is free, and these people don't seem to know how to use it. Internet phones have internet. Use the goddamn things.
I agree. A lot of people say, well, I do my own research, and the problem with many of these idiots is that they watch Alex Jones, and that's their research. They watch Fox News, OAN, or Newsmax. They listen to what Matt Gaetz has to say, or Steve Bannon, and that's how they do their own research. Or they listen to a voodoo doctor that believes in demon sperm, and that's where they get their information about vaccines, or maybe even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or Mike Lindell when it comes to election integrity. This is how they do their research, because they're all dumbasses, because they have a very low IQ. They're stupid people, and that's the majority of the Donald Trump base. And I don't care if people are offended by that. I really don't care. The overwhelming majority of people that voted for Donald Trump are very stupid people, period.
They are definitely. Here's one point that I keep making to people is that, Donald Trump never provided his tax returns, and everybody keeps saying President Joe Biden. It's on the internet. They can go on there and find Joe Biden's tax returns for the last 22 years.
Yeah, that's true. And by the way, he hasn't released his college transcripts either, my dear. I appreciate your phone call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Let's see. Let's go to Teresa. Teresa is next up on PTL. Hey, Teresa, what's going on?
Hello. I'm mother of a Marine that's in L.A. right now.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. And I was seeing on the news and on the internet that they're sending all these ships out there, and they're supposedly saying that they're training. But how much do we believe that?
So what do you know what source that was where you saw about these ships? Because I haven't heard that. Can you share with us where you saw that?
Well, I follow a lady on the internet, on Facebook, that shows all that, but it's not live, public.
So I don't
So,
know. If I knew, I would tell you. All I can tell you is that I haven't heard of that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying this lady was wrong. I just don't know. I can't confirm that because I don't know. But if that was true, that's very concerning.
Very.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about. All these military people, soldiers, Marines, sailors, going out there.
Have you heard of that?
I don't know yet.
Are
but,
you worried?
Like I said,
Are you worried that you could be deployed?
no, my son is.
Your son is
The one
okay.
that's in the Marines.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm the son. My son
Your
is
son.
in the Marines. And he's there
Gotcha.
in L.A.
He's in LA. Is your son worried that he could be deployed? Has he talked to you about that?
Well, he's in L.A. right now due to that the riots, they say.
So your son, I want to ask you about this. Your son, who decided, and God love him, he's a hero, who decided to risk his life for this country if need be, which I have so much respect for. I'm wondering how you feel as a mother, where the Trump administration calls out your son, a brave Marine, to deal with a couple blocks of protests in L.A. How does that make you feel as a mother?
Very angry.
Yeah.
To the fact that he's not supposed to be there. He shouldn't be there. That's not what he's trained to do. He's trained to be combat. He's trained to be out in deployment, having, protect us as a U.S. citizen and everybody.
Has he spoken to you about what he's done out there, if anything? Because I've heard stories about these Marines that didn't have food, didn't have water, that were sleeping on the floor in office buildings. Has your son talked to you at all about that?
No, he hasn't. I hardly hear from him due to the fact that he's there and they're not really allowed to have their phones on.
Yeah. Well, I understand.
So every now and then, he tells me, Mom, be careful because they just evacuated the U.S. Capitol in Austin. Just be safe.
Yeah.
Things that I really didn't know that happened. And this was, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, every now and then I hear from him, but
Yeah.
not every day.
Well, your
So
son's
I really don't know.
Your son's a hero, and I'm sure this is the last thing he thought he would be doing when he signed up to be a Marine, was to be called out to L.A. because there were a few blocks and there were some people that were obviously breaking the law, but overwhelmingly there were people that were not breaking the law. Local law enforcement said that we've got it covered, we can handle it, and yet they call out the Marines. I find that to be very, very interesting. Your son shouldn't be out there,
No.
and I certainly hope he's not deployed anywhere near the Middle East. But my dear, I do appreciate you calling in. Our thoughts are with your son, and please give us an update and call back, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Todd. Todd is next up on PTL. Hey, Todd, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
Haven't chatted for you in a couple of bit. I just wanted to say something real quick.
Sure.
It's going to sound like I'm trying to, get brownie points, but behind every great man that's ever done anything in, but modern society, there's a woman that does everything for him.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's why I like to say, for instance, Trump doesn't have any good, because he picks not the greatest women.
That is a saying, isn't it, Paul? And, or I'm sorry, Todd. That is a saying. And I would say that Melania is in another zip code. There's a reason for that. She doesn't want to be anywhere near her contractual husband. So I do agree with you. I will say this. Michelle Obama, I think you would agree, is a wonderful woman. And they're a loving couple.
Fantastic.
I would say the same thing about Dr. Jill Biden. I have my criticisms of Joe Biden, certainly, but at the same time, they're a loving couple. I'll even go as far as to say that about Laura Bush. She is a woman of class and dignity, something that I would not say about Melania Trump. But who are the women that have really been around Donald Trump? I mean, he's cheated on every single woman he's ever been with. I said a joke.
He chooses the certain ones that, that just tell him what he needs to hear, and they're not going to make a good man out of him. That sounds really sexist by accident. But
Unfortunately, I have to admit something. I was in the Trump Tower a few months ago. I had a meeting there, and I had a drink at the bar. And the person that I was talking to was anti-Trump like myself. And I said to her, I wonder in how many of these hotel rooms he's cheated on Melania in. and we were trying to come up with like a number of in how many of these rooms, and I don't know. Our number was 8647. That was the number we came up with.
Yeah. Good numerology there.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate your call, my friend.
I just wanted to say that, just like up to the women, and what a sad things going on anyway. Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you, my friend. Sometimes we have to laugh at the craziness, and I'm with you, my friend. And I appreciate the phone call. 702-221-7283. Kathy is next on PTL. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Looks like that we are in an idiocracy right now. And I just wanted to give my quick opinion about what's going on. I find it very unusual and very ironic that the day that we sent the bombs over to Iran, instead of the oil prices surging, they actually plummeted. Well, today, after that announcement that Trump has made, oil prices are surging again. I hate to say this, and I hope that I'm not wrong, but doesn't that kind of smell of market manipulation again?
Yeah.
Because Trump does nothing without him profiting from it.
Yeah, I would say so. Everything that I think you'll agree with this. Everything that Donald Trump does benefits him in one way or another, at least something that he tries to do, whether it's lying about the objective of what's going on in Iran. We're hearing reports that he did this for ego purposes. He wanted to get involved. Everything he says when it comes to the war in Ukraine, when he said he would end it within 24 hours, then, all this 5 months have passed and he was just being sarcastic. When it comes to his crypto scandal, even the whole daddy thing, now he's selling daddy shirts. I mean, the guy is just everything that he does. He's a snake oil salesman, and unfortunately, he's the leader of the free world, which makes him very dangerous.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, I appreciate your call, my dear. You have a great rest of your Thursday, and we do appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. 702-221-7283, as Avalon says on the YouTube Super Chat, Daddy Bone Spurs. Yes, I like that one. 702-221-7283. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. Hey, David, what's going on?
Oh, not too bad. As a matter of fact, I'm just going through my emails here, and did you realize that Elon's birthday is coming up on Saturday?
What are we going to give him for his birthday?
Well, I'm the guy that calls from out in San Francisco, and apparently he's going to get a crappy birthday. So there are a number of different protests at the Tesla locations. So
Don't you find it so interesting, speaking of Elon Musk, who's a terrible human being, by the way, that if you key a Tesla, which I don't condone, I never have. I don't condone any form of violence or any type of behavior like that, breaking the law. But if you key a Tesla in the MAGA world, you deserve 20 years in jail, right? 20 years in jail. But if you're a 34-count felon, or if you beat police officers on January 6th, you're somehow a patriot and a hero. I do find that very interesting.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because did Trump used the White House as a used car lot a couple of months ago, but then all of a sudden, did he actually say the other day that he's going to sell his Teslas for, $79 or something like that? So if it's a crime to key one, but the president finds it distasteful to even have one, does the emperor have any clothes? There's something funny going on with this situation. But I heard you talking about the bombing of the Iranians, and I have taken it for granted that it's a cover-up. And some people think that it's a cover-up for the big, beautiful bill. I personally think, though, there was something even uglier, and that was a Supreme Court ruling just a few days before the bombings started.
Yeah.
And that was that since Elon got into the Treasury, and it's known that he has everybody's Social Security number.
Well, he does, and you're right about this Supreme Court ruling. You're absolutely right about that. Listen, everything that Elon Musk and Donald Trump does is for their own personal benefit. Yes, you're right. Elon Musk has all of our Social Security numbers. I'd like to know I think Elon Musk has more kids out there than maybe Social Security numbers. I don't know. Apparently, he's got kids all over the country. That's the real non-daddy. That's the shirt that I would buy, non-daddy Elon. You want to talk about the worst dad in America? I'd put Elon Musk right up there. Oh, yeah, he also happens to be the richest man in the world, arguably the worst dad in the world. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy is next up on PTL. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for taking my call. I've got 3 points. 2 quick ones first. Melania, the Einstein Award. It doesn't mean head, all right? Why hasn't she been investigated on that? Because she obviously, what was brought up the other day.
Jimmy, I'm sorry to Jimmy. I want, for whatever reason, it sounds like you're in a Las Vegas tunnel. Can you get a little bit
better? Hello, can you hear me better?
There you go, Jimmy. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Apologize, my Bluetooth. I was saying that I got 3 points. One, Melania, the Einstein Award. It doesn't mean head or fellatio. I'm trying to figure out why hasn't she been investigated for some of the stuff that she claims.
Okay, hold on, though. Jimmy, I got to stop you for a second. If there's anybody that doesn't have Trump fellatio syndrome, it's definitely Melania Trump. She's been cured a very long time ago. After she signed that contractual marriage, listen, I say a lot of people have Trump fellatio syndrome. I said it to Roger Stone on the Piers Morgan show. Make no mistake about it. I don't want to misdiagnose her. Now, she's a terrible human being, no doubt. Melania does not have Trump fellatio syndrome. Let's be clear on that. Caroline Levette, yes, absolutely, 100%. Melania Trump, no, I don't think so. So she doesn't have that disease.
All right, second point. Charlie Kirk, after his remarks on a simple human being running for office, he's not welcome at UNLV. I would hate to see him because I would personally embarrass him, and I would like for you to run this back because last time he was here, he had me waiting for 25 minutes on one girl saying that he was going to ask one question. Yeah, he's full of it. So long story short, Charlie Kirk. If he comes back to UNLV,
now there's a guy that wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. Charlie Kirk, man. Okay, what's your third one?
My third one, all right, the donkey of the week is Mr. Hegseth here. Long story short, he's an embarrassment. I'm a retired veteran. Every time I see that peckerhead on TV and the way he cried today, it shows exactly how much of a punk he is, how much of a weak of America that we are right now. And long story short, once again, it shows this piece of crap is unqualified.
Jimmy,
thank you, dude.
Jimmy,
that's all I had to say, brother. And this is my therapy. Thank you for taking my call, bro.
You got Jimmy. I love your energy, my friend. Great phone call. Fellatio was the I think the important word in that phone call. Melania does not have it. Charlie Kirk does. I also want to say hello to a very lovely lady that I went to the Eiffel Tower restaurant with the other day. We had a very good time. She's watching the show for the first time, so I got to be very nice, and I got to stop calling people names, okay? I'm going to try to be on my best behavior. Now, I probably won't. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. That's 702-221-SAVE. I cannot save all of you MAGAs. I just can't. Let's go to Michael. Michael is next up on PTL. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, I've probably been following you on YouTube. Probably I had the last 4 or 5 months, and we're in total agreement about how we see politics in America. I'm definitely an anti-Trump. I'm a 72-year-old black male who's been following politics since I was about 10, 12 years old, and Obama means nothing. Not only good for Black America, but for America. Period. Oh, not Obama. I'm sorry. Trump does. So yeah. I'm definitely an anti-Trumper. Count me in that. And one of the things that I really want to commend you on, though, is that every time that you have a debate with one of the Trumpers, the first thing, and you ask them, well, why are you supporting this guy? Why you vote for this guy? You so first thing they want to tell you is the border, and that's nonsense.
Do you find that? Why do you think that is? Because I want to ask you about this. You're an African-American male. Is that what you said, sir?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Now, I think I know the answer to this. But every single time, sir, that a MAGA Republican says they're so happy with what Donald Trump is doing, they always talk about border security, and they always talk about immigrants. Why do you think that is? I think I know the answer. Why do you think that is?
Well, because I think they think it's popular among his base, it's red meat for his base. The other thing is they really just don't want to tell the truth. You know, the truth of the matter is they're a racist,
sure,
misogynistic group of people.
Yep.
And I hate to paint everybody with a brush, but that's not, and I'm not saying all of them,
no, but I hear what you're saying, but I think "Make America
Yeah.
Great Again" has always meant "Make America White Again." Every single time I hear
absolutely.
somebody say that, or Trump, member of his administration, they always want to blame immigrants, many of whom are seeking asylum that are nonviolent criminals. Let me tell you something. You know this, sir. This country was founded on immigrants. Okay, I love the fact, at least I used to live in a country that welcomed everybody from all over the world. Now we are living in a country, because of the Trump administration, that if you're not white, they're going to come after you. If you're not pro-Trump, they're going to come after you. We are at a point in this country right now, people that have lived in this country for decades, that pay their taxes, that have kids here, that are married, are being deported outside of courtrooms, outside of Home Depot, in religious sanctuaries. This is not "Make America Great Again." This is "Make America White Again." And I truly believe that many in the MAGA cult would love us to go back to the slavery days. They would love us to go back to the days of slavery when people owned black people. They would love us to go back to those days where if you were gay, you would be, pushed to the side. You could never get a job. You could never be open. They still are like that. They still are like that. They attack drag queens. They want to ban books. They attack the LGBT community. They attack Martin Luther King Day. They attack Gay Pride Month. They attack everything and everybody that is different than them, unless you're Lindsey Graham. But that's another story for another show.
Yeah, well, that's true. I got one quick question, though, and I'll let you go.
Sure.
But like I say, we're of the same mindset, and I agree with everything you just said. But I was curious, though. I thought I heard you say one time that you did not vote for Obama. Was it in 2000?
Yes, correct. Here's why.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yep.
I'm just curious as to why that was.
That's a very fair question, and I get that question a lot. Now, I did not do political talk radio until Donald Trump put his name in the ring. However, I was still involved in politics. I still talked about it. So let's go the first go around, Barack Obama versus John McCain. Now, I didn't like Sarah Palin, and I always had a tremendous amount of respect for Barack Obama. Do you remember the moment, and I respected John McCain, but I was still going to vote for Obama. Do you remember the moment where a woman called Saddam Hussein an Arab, and John McCain grabs that microphone and says, "No, ma'am. Barack Obama is a decent family man. He's a good man. We just disagree on policy." Do you remember that moment?
I do. I remember that, and I believe that was somewhere in West Virginia.
It
where
was.
I was originally from.
It was. So at that moment,
Yeah.
I said, wow. And to this moment today, I still think it's one of the best moments in political history, just from a standpoint of decency. So here's what I said to myself, even though I can't stand Sarah Palin. I said, I'm okay with either of these good, decent men winning. Because I think Obama will be a good president. He's a good man. I think McCain would be a good president. So I didn't vote for either of them. Not because I didn't like either of them, the opposite. So that election, I didn't vote for either of them. Then Mitt Romney. Now, I can tell you that I spent personal time with Mitt Romney when he came to Vegas. I was a reporter at the time. Don't agree with a lot of his policy decisions, okay? Don't agree with a lot of his voting record. However, I can tell you with certainty he's a good man. He's a good father. He's a good husband. And I believe he's a decent man. I saw the way he talked to people. I saw the way he talked to complete strangers behind closed doors. And I also said to myself, while I don't always agree with Mitt Romney on policy, I felt similarly the last election. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be okay if either of them win. Because and to this point, I think I was right about Mitt Romney because he's one of the few Republicans that voted to impeach Donald Trump. I think Mitt Romney is a man who stands on his principles. I don't always agree with him. So that's the way I've kind of been. And then, I made a mistake and I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I had no idea the monster that Donald Trump, I didn't vote for Donald Trump either, but I had no idea the monster that he would turn out to be. I said to myself, sir, I am never going to make that same mistake again. I would vote for a ham sandwich over Donald Trump. You're damn right I voted for Joe Biden. You're damn right I voted for Kamala Harris. I should have voted for Hillary Clinton. But, listen, maybe I'm wrong. I think John McCain would have been a decent president. I think he was a decent man, a hero. I think Mitt Romney would have been he wouldn't have embarrassed the country. Mitt Romney would not have embarrassed the country, as Donald Trump does every day. So as I tell people, I'm a registered independent. I'm extremely anti-Donald Trump. I do lean to the left on social issues. I think a woman should have the right to choose. I think we need more gun control. I think we need to raise minimum wage. I believe in gay marriage. I believe transgenders, just be who you are. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your body. So I'm very liberal when it comes to social issues, but I also am okay with capital punishment. I do want border security, not the way the Trump administration is doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But only and I agree with you up to the point of capital punishment. I used to believe that, but I just have seen the disparate impact that it's had on Black and Latino people and people of color. And I'm a retired attorney, and I know that the representation is not always fair. Or
let me ask you a question. I hear you. But let me ask you a question. With the DNA evidence that we have now, and thank God the Central Park Five were released, I'm very happy about that. If you have a serial rapist, someone that is, God forbid, sexually abused, 20 children, and he's also a convicted murderer, you think that person deserves to be alive and have 3 meals a day?
Yeah. And the reason I say that, I just don't think that man or government should have the right to necessarily take somebody's life like that. And I that's a despicable human being. I agree with you 100%. But I think that, life imprisonment in a solitary situation on death row is not a great life.
Oh, I'm not saying it is.
I mean,
I'm certainly.
I
understand. I'm not saying it is.
Are you putting the person out their misery, or are you putting them out of their misery, or are you actually sentencing something worse than death?
Most studies would tell you that it's a lot cheaper for us to, quote, put them out of their misery. If they're in solitary confinement in a 5x5 cell, but I think a lot of these people are not in solitary confinement. Some are, and I think that's a torturous way to live, and they deserve it, and they deserve to suffer. I think it's a fair argument to have. I just am one of those people that believes that if you are a serial murderer, or for example, the man who was Tsarnaev, who was responsible with his brother for the Boston bombing, that person, in my opinion, should not be alive. That's just my personal opinion. I respect your opinion as well. We don't want these horrible people out on the streets. We agree. We don't want these crimes to happen. I'm just one of those people that's okay with capital punishment, eye for an eye sort of thing. But I also understand the other side of the argument, and I think that's a fair argument that you have as well.
Yeah, I understand yours, and I appreciate you.
Sure. I appreciate the call, my friend. Really good questions, as I will answer any question that somebody asks me, and we don't always have to agree with it. Very intelligent gentleman, and, I've always been for capital punishment. At the same time, I understand the other side of the argument as well. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Michael. Michael is next up on PTL. Hey, Michael, what's going on? Oh, I'm sorry. We have Paul on the line next. Hi, Paul. What's going on, Paul?
Is this me?
Yeah. Hi, Paul. Sorry about that. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, no problem. Listen, I think there's something seriously wrong about this Iraq bombing raid.
Iran. Yeah.
Don't you? Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry, I apologize. Don't you think there's something seriously wrong about what would actually happen if they bombed semi-refined uranium? Like, this stuff is 60% uranium, and if you bomb it, you're making a huge, dirty bomb.
I was having a conversation last night with somebody about this who actually knows. It sounds like you know what you're talking about as well, about these materials. If you bomb those materials, it would be catastrophic, and we would know. We know that there was no evidence that we got any of that uranium out of there based on our own intelligence, but you won't hear that from the White House.
But that's what I mean. So obviously they knew there's got to be some people that are still with a half a brain there that would know that if you bomb this stuff, even, Israel would know that they don't want that near them. It doesn't make any sense that you would just bomb it. So to me, and again, conspiracy minded, I wouldn't doubt that some of these bombing sites are probably all this land we bought up, and now you'll find Trump hotels on it now with this.
I don't
think.
I don't think that's I don't think that's necessarily a conspiracy theory. I think Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump have bigger things in mind. I think this is all nonsense, and unfortunately, it puts our own military people in harm's way of our military bases overseas. I think this was garbage. The fact that Iran got 2 days' notice is really all you need to know about this thing. And when you have people like Pete Hegseth in charge, this is what happens. I don't think there are so many people. I mean, I have friends of mine, some of their family live in Jordan. They can't even travel to Jordan. I have friends of mine. I have a friend of mine who actually is from Iran. These people are afraid. They're scared. They don't know what's going to happen next. And we also need to understand this isn't just about the innocent people in Israel. It's not just about innocent Palestinians. There are decent, good people in Iran as well. Obviously not those that work for the government, but there are decent people in Jordan, in Iran. They are all scared. They don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's something seriously wrong with this whole picture that they're trying to spin. And I don't think we've heard the end of this yet. And I think, again, I think this is why they're trying to stifle media like CNN, because they're getting too close to the truth. And they don't want to be found out because there's a lot more behind this we're just not hearing.
Well, listen, that's their kryptonite. When it comes to any of these MAGA idiots, their kryptonite is the actual truth. There's no question about that. And I appreciate your call, my friend. And I think you're onto something with the uranium stuff. I don't think we got any of it. 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's see here. Who do we have next? Let's go to Jay. Jay is next up on PTL. Oh, Jay just hung up the phone. All right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. That's 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next up on PTL. Hey, Carl, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Normally I agree with you 99.9%, but I have to somewhat disagree with you against the death penalty we're just talking about, because I had some friends who was in something called the Innocence Project. I don't know if you heard of it.
How long ago?
And
how long ago did that happen?
Well, quite a few years ago.
Okay, but Carl, I'm talking about right now. Look at the DNA evidence.
Even right now.
Yeah, but okay,
right now.
Listen,
Let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's explain real quick that they found people after they've been executed that they were innocent because of certain things, and killing somebody doesn't really. I'd rather keep them locked up.
What about up to the family? What about leave it up to the families who have lost loved ones? How about that?
If it was my family and something happened, I would still rather have them locked in a tiny cell and suffering every single day.
I understand.
Of their life.
Here's what I am. Okay, Carl, I understand that there are people that have that perspective. Here's my perspective. If, God forbid, a murderer out there wipes out somebody's parents, premeditation, everything, it's proven. He pleads guilty even. I don't want our justice system to make that decision. I want their family to be able to make that decision on whether they want him life in prison without parole or the death penalty. Now, that's my personal opinion, and I understand why some people are against it. I'm not saying not saying your opinion is wrong or not credible. I'm just saying that's my opinion. I would like to live in a country where if somebody is a proven murderer or rapist or you name it. Now, listen, call me crazy, Carl, and people are going to think I'm absolutely nuts right now saying this. If somebody admits to raping somebody and they plead guilty to it, then I think their genitalia should be cut off. I really feel that way. I really feel that way. Which means Donald Trump would be walking around without a penis. Well, maybe he already is. I don't know.
What if what they did was because they're mentally ill? Well, there's some reason
different,
for
but
it.
that's different, Carl.
Well, that's got to be proven.
But Carl, but the prosecutors will not ask for the death penalty. You know that, Carl. They're not asking for the death penalty.
They have.
Okay,
you said the parents should make up their mind whether they should get the death penalty.
But I'm not talking about when somebody is. Listen, Carl, name me somebody that kills an innocent person that is not in one way, shape, or another mentally ill. There are different levels of that. Can we agree?
Well, of course.
If you are willing to, I read a story, Carl. It was on a local news affiliate. I think it was like in Virginia. This is a horrible story. A woman had just broken up with her husband, and they were officially divorced. She goes on a dating website. She meets a normal guy at a bar, and the ex-husband walks up to both of them at this bar restaurant and executes both of them and kills both of them. Now, the cops did shoot him and kill him, but somebody like that, I would want the victims' families to be able to make that decision. That's my personal opinion. I want the victims. I don't want a judge to make that decision. I don't want a court or jury to make that decision. I want the victim's family. Like, what about these school shootings, right? You've got some of these school shooters who executed people, the Parkland shooter and others, 18, 20, 30 innocent kids. I want those parents to make the decision. I don't want a judge to make that decision. That is my personal opinion. You can disagree with me. That's okay, but I stand by it.
No. Look, everybody has their own opinion, and that's yours. I just think that there are too many other reasons, possibly, where somebody who is sentenced to the death penalty shouldn't get it. Maybe some should, but a lot of them should not.
Understood.
And that's just the way I look at it.
I understand. Listen, it's a very complicated issue, Carl. I appreciate your perspective, and like I said, somebody calls in here and says Donald Trump won the 2020 election. That's somebody that has no credibility. Somebody who calls in and says, Brian, I disagree with you. I'm not for capital punishment. Here's why. I respect that opinion. We just disagree. But I can understand why you have that opinion. I've always been somebody that has been for capital punishment. I respect others. I think some of our laws are, for example, if you kill somebody drunk driving, there are people that get out of jail in a couple years. It should be a minimum 20-year prison sentence. If you kill somebody and you're drunk, it should be a minimum 20-year prison sentence, okay? I believe if you're a rapist and you're convicted in a court of law, it should be a minimum 20 to 25-year prison sentence. I believe if it's premeditated murder, in some cases, you can get out of jail in 10, 15 years. I believe if it's premeditated murder in any way, shape, or form, it should be life in prison without the possibility of parole. So we can have disagreements on capital punishment, but I don't think punishments are strong enough for people that commit horrible crimes in this country. We have a guy by the name of Henry Ruggs, a former Raider NFL player in Las Vegas who was driving 155 miles an hour. He killed an innocent woman by the name of Tina Tinter. If memory serves me right, she was in her early 20s, and her dog burned alive. He's out of jail now. 3 years he's been in jail, 3 or 4 years. Is anybody okay with that? If you're against capital punishment, that's fine. But if you kill somebody going 155 miles an hour and you're drunk, I want you in jail for 20 years. Throw away the key. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jay. Jay is next up on PTL. What's up, Jay?
Hello, Brian. So I want to tell you, I really love your content.
Thank you.
I love how you make some MAGA people squirm. But anyways, I want to talk to you a little bit about capital punishment.
Sure.
So what I want to say is I understand why people want other people to get the death penalty, but it's like my mom's always said this, and I kind of agree with her. What if the court doesn't do a thorough enough checking and the guy's actually innocent? That will be like a big stain. And yeah,
so that obviously does happen, but I can tell you right now, with DNA evidence and what we have right now, it is beyond extremely rare when we're talking about death penalty cases in particular. I think it certainly has happened a lot more in the past. It's extremely rare at this given time. I'm not saying it's not possible and it can't happen, but for the people out there that are against capital punishment, I ask them, do you agree with me that we should have stronger punishments put in place for drunk drivers that kill people on the road? I mean, there are stories of people that kill people on the road. I just gave one example that are drunk driving that are out of jail in 3 or 4 years. I find that despicable. It's despicable.
Yeah. Well, I also think another thing that needs to do better is like there needs to be more available help, and there needs to be more. It needs to be cheaper.
Well, you're right about that. You're right about that, my friend. I'm up against the clock. I got to go. But as you know, MAGA Republicans are going to take away over 10 million people that have Medicaid with this big, beautiful bill, or as my friend JoJo from Jersey says, the big boner bill. Over 10 million people could lose their Medicaid. So I'm with you, my friend. I am absolutely with you. But, according to Donald Trump, he's not doing anything wrong. According to Donald Trump, everybody else is doing everything wrong.
They don't know what the they're doing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they don't. That's right. That was what Donald Trump said about Israel and Iran just the other day. Very intelligent, Mr. President. Very, very intelligent. 702-221-7283, the number to call, by the way. For those of you that are new to the show, and I know many of you are loyal listeners, and I love you for that, and I appreciate you guys. There's a couple things you could do to help support what we do. Obviously, the YouTube Super Chat is one of them. Being interactive on YouTube, giving us the thumbs up, and being interactive and making comments on YouTube, all that stuff helps us a great deal. People like Alexa, who said, I am a disabled woman. I use an electric wheelchair. Where are they going to go and do to the cops? That's a good point, Alexa, and we appreciate you in regards to people in wheelchairs that are being handcuffed for peacefully protesting. People like Alexa who donate. You could also go to my website. It's right there on the bottom of the page, where our producer put it there, pushingthelimits.live. You go to pushingthelimits.live. We sell merchandise on there, shirts, hats, PTL, beanies, you name it. And when you email me a picture of you wearing the PTL stuff, we will post it on our social media pages. Another great thing that you can do, donations, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can do on pushingthelimits.live. We so appreciate you. That's how we keep the lights on here, and that's how we can continue to speak truth to power. This is an independently owned radio show. I decided to do this radio show about 2.5 years ago. I don't know, something like that. I was working at a very conservative radio station. And I was able to get a lot of listeners off of that show. But unfortunately, I was at a radio station that did not promote the things I say. And luckily, I'm at a station now that does. At least they support what I do, which I'm very appreciative of. And I was told by a very, very close friend of mine, you got to own your own content. You got to do your own radio show. You can't be working in an environment where people tell you what you can or can't say. Obviously, I agreed with him. It was scary because I had been working in radio for almost 20 years, and I was so used to getting that paycheck every 2 weeks. I was so used to working for large companies, which I have. I've worked for a ton of different companies, CBS, Citadel, you name it. I've worked for a lot of different businesses and different radio companies, most of which are very conservative companies. And I started doing this show about 2.5, 3 years ago. Started everything from scratch. Started everything from square one. Built an audience. Worked hard. And I know when people say, nobody's going to hand you anything, Brian. If you work hard, things will come because of it. And I stand by that because my friend was right. And I'm very proud of where we're at now. We're approaching 120,000 YouTube subscribers. Doing national TV every few weeks or so. And I've developed wonderful friendships with people that I've admired over the years that I've watched on TV, that watch my show. People like Don Lemon, those kinds of people. And I don't take any of that for granted. I really don't. And while this job at times could be a little bit stressful, and while this job at times can be difficult, I know that the second that I'm on the air and this microphone is on, and hopefully the audio levels are good, and things are working, which they are, that's when I'm having fun. And that's the peak of work for me, when I'm actually on the air and I'm speaking to all of you. And appreciative to all of you. Because all of you spread the word about this show. I get emails from people every day that said, hey, my friend told me to check out your show. I'm so appreciative to all of you because without you guys, we wouldn't be here. I'm going to keep working my ass off, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing every single day. We also put my email on the bottom of the page. As it's tough for me to get back to everybody in a timely manner, I do read all of my emails. So if you want to reach out to me, I would say the best way to reach out to me is through social media, particularly X, or through the YouTube Super Chat. But there is my email there as well for people out there that want to reach out to me. And I do get a lot of guest suggestions. And sometimes, I work on those suggestions, and I try to get big guests on a regular basis. So we appreciate you guys very much. So tomorrow on the program, I really do appreciate his work And I have for a very long time. I have a lot of, I have left-wingers on this show. I have right-wingers on this show. Ryan Shedd is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. He's a very popular left-wing podcaster, and he's going to be joining us on the program tomorrow. Obviously, we'll have the latest of the last 24 hours of what is going on in this Iran-Israel battle that has now involved the United States, so we will continue that. I love you guys very much. I appreciate all of your support. We're going to keep doing what we're doing here so long as you guys keep supporting what we're doing. We'll see you guys tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds